Kumadoe. Also, via Zoom is Adib Saani, who's as well a security analyst, helping us to understand all of this. Let me start off with you, Richard. We know that over the period, the Ghana Police Service has explained why it has gone after a number of media personalities on grounds of publication of false news. That's what the Ghana Police Service is indicating. Why is it the case that the speaker would be describing this as an affront to free speech? Do you side with him in the first place?
Definitely, there's a complexity of what is happening. And what we don't do properly in this country is public education and public information management. And it's fusing into the confusion in the public space. As somebody who has been a lawyer and a long-standing member of parliament, I can understand the pain and the anguish in his voice. But it's also important that we hear the court is making, that we need to make media houses responsible, and the Media Commission in general, we need to provide the resources and let them be in the capacity to check themselves. Other than that, people have the choice to either go to the court, or the police have a responsibility in maintaining law and order to take an action. And where there are excesses, we should be in a position to draw the attention of the police, but we should also not whip in the hands of the police in doing their statutory job.
And Adib Saani, when this started, of course, you had a reaction to this, indicating that the police must be cautious about the approach they are going on in terms of arresting people using the law on publication of false news. But how is this coming to you now that we know that the Speaker of Parliament is unhappy about the conduct of the Ghana Police Service?
Well, first of all, it is important to note that we are a country that is governed by the rule of law. We have processes, procedures to follow, even in making an arrest when someone falls foul of the law. But the question is, did the person perpetrate a crime or not? So it is important that we look at the merits of the cases before we jump onto the bandwagon to start, analyzing it. But it is also instructive to know that the police should not be given the free hand to make arrests as and when they will. So we don't have them going overboard and stifling free expression in the country. Because so far, lately, the arrest that has happened, I must say, is quite disturbing, and it's making a lot of Ghanaians feel that there is a well-orchestrated culture of silence being perpetrated. I don't think that as a country with so much democratic tenets, we can afford to be silent about it.
Well, gentlemen, you need to hold on for me. In fact, this is just part of a broader conversation that we're having this afternoon on The Pulse. In fact, feeding into that broad narrative about police reforms and what it is that the IGP himself has been promising. He's been speaking just days before the Speaker of Parliament comes out, as we're hearing him, chiding the police over their substandard conduct. In fact, I'll read that to you, what it is that the IGP has been promising. He says that we are pleading with you, let go of our past and let us be. We understand we lost your trust, we lost your confidence and your respect, but we are going to bring them back. So please don't continue to judge us by our past and by extension, even insult us, because this is the police we all have as a nation. And that's the assurance that we're obviously getting from the IGP himself, Dr. Dampare, on all that's been happening. In fact, he is giving an assurance, a firm assurance, that he would turn around the narrative around the Ghana Police Service. So, Richard, here we are. You've heard from the IGP, and then the Speaker is complaining. Are you certain that the Ghana Police Service will be able to achieve this target?
Definitely, when Dampare came, he improved the quality of policing a little bit. We are glad with it, and I'm happy with the words in the statement he had made, that is in recognition of the fact that they made certain mistakes, and they should be listening to the general public, who are key stakeholders in the job they do, particularly when it comes to crime fighting and prevention of crime. And to that extent, I want to believe Dampare what he's saying. But then, the confusion around the arrests they've made in recent times is something they need to put their feet together and clear the air. There are some other security agencies that are causing arrests or making the effect of arrest without the knowledge of the police. And it seems the police is fighting so hard to take responsibility for some of those actions. At the backdrop of the fact that the police is being cited against the general public, it's creating a disunity between what is happening in the general public and what the police want to do. In line with that, the Speaker of Parliament has weighed into the issue. Dan Parry will need to calm down his men. They will need to be sober about it and let objectivity and professionalism guide them. And that is the only way they will come to the conclusion that this is what we have done, and let us be judged by that.
I don't know how I could come in at this point, but Richard, it appears that the narrative has been made that simple. The fact that, well, if you look at all of this has been happening to the Ghana Police Service, the fault is squarely laid at the doorsteps of the police service and no one else apart from the police. They're not acting in a vacuum, you agree?
Definitely, I agree with that one. And that is why responsibility is so much of important. They will need to take responsibility for their actions, and that comes with some level of accountability. And where they are wrong, they should say that we are wrong. And where they have done well, we should pat them at the back and say, we are commending you. They should look at what has happened within the last week or 2 weeks ago, in line with what they want to do, and let them be the judge where they will judge themselves, and the best reasoning will prevail.
Adib Saani, let me take your thoughts on this. Born again, that's the quote from the IGP. Are you seeing any changes in the approach of the police ever since the backlash on the kinds of arrests we are seeing on media personalities?
Well, last weekend I was at an event organized by a security training organization in Ghana, and my good brother, Mr. Kumadoe, was also there. We had COP Tabiri, and in my speech, I was quite categorical about the fact that 80% of the challenges of the Ghana Police Service has got to do with leadership. And with the right leadership in place, obviously you would make inroads. But if you have political chameleons at the helm of affairs, there's absolutely no way the police can be trusted by the people. And when you look closely at the 9 pillar principles of modern day policing, which serves as a benchmark, so far as modern day policing is concerned, consistent with best international practices, it's all about winning public favor. It's all about engendering your trust, your relationship with the general population. And it also says that without the people believing in the work you do, there's absolutely no way the police can do their work.
It appears that if you look at
the IGP came,
right, and if you look at the framework of the law, it appears that the Ghana Police Service is helpless in terms of the issues surrounding political interference. The law, the way it's been crafted, obviously you can't take away the executive in terms of control of the Ghana Police Service. So that's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, it is a major challenge, and I do understand sometimes the difficult circumstances in which a lot of these officers find themselves in. But we have a Police Service Act 350 that is quite categorical about the work of the police. So the day you fall to a politician, then that day you fail to be a professional. So oblivion of the pressures that might come their way. I remember one time I spoke about the need for officers to stand up to politicians and tell them no. I got a call from a police friend of mine who's asked whether I would feed his family if he's no longer within the service. But we all saw what happened in Takoradi. The officer stood up, stood his grounds, and said, no, I'm not going to allow you, the so-called chairperson of the District Security Council, to, disrespect the law. And truly, in the end, who won? So if we have officers like him rising up to the occasion to say no to politicians, I'm sure politicians would also learn to keep their hands off, cases before the police.
Richard, let's look at some of these specific cases. In some of the publications we've seen, some of them even border on contents relating to coup d'etats. The recent one involving the NPP Bonahafo chairperson. In some of these instances, we see a clear case where there is alarm all over the place in terms of warmongering, and this should obviously concern the Ghana Police Service. So when they're moving quickly to pick up such persons, why should we then be worried about the professionalism of the Ghana Police Service? They're acting in line with duty, isn't it?
Definitely, they are acting in line with duty. They are human institutions. Definitely, there are going to be errors. What is important is to accept corporate and personal responsibility for their actions. What is also important is that they must enhance their performance levels. by making sure that they apply themselves to the best standards locally and internationally. Considering the fact that we live in a West Africa region where the issues of coup d'etat and terrorism has become a major threat to us, people making statements in that regard will need to be circumspect and prudent. And that is also to say that the police acting, whether they are arresting or they are inviting people, will need to be objective and follow due procedure.
Right, but give us a picture. In terms of rating it, what would you want to see first on the front burner in terms of what it is that the Ghana Police Service would have to change if indeed they would have to meet the world standard?
Number one, their public engagement will need to be a bit more and more professionally engaging the general public. Number two, they will need to look at operational performances, where we can judge them based on their key performance operations in terms of operations. Then number three, security communication is something the police must take seriously. Then number four, explaining the tenets of what they do, follow due procedure, is what makes them superhuman beings. If they are able to follow these four things I've just enumerated, nobody will have an issue with the police. And the police, IGP Dampari, must step up and stand his grounds to say that I am a professional police officer and I do not succumb to any political pressure. And you will see them coming up so nicely, and they will be the loving boys of everybody. Until they are able to follow these 5 key points I've enumerated, they will have a long way to go.
Right, and what we need to also do is that, gentlemen, we need to consider the aspect of collaboration and coordination between the Ghana Police Service and the media as well. We'll talk about the best strategy that the police needs to adopt in this case. But Adib Saani, what's the topmost priority for you right now in terms of your concern of how the Ghana Police Service would have to reform its strategies?
Well, I think they should take a closer look at the training regime to go beyond officers just taught how to shoot, but rather include a lot more of the democratic policing element of overall policing. Police officers should learn to understand that if someone picks a phone and starts recording, it doesn't warrant you attack and beat the person. They should also learn how to de-escalate, because for most of the situation in which they find themselves, I think that there's always a window of opportunity for matters to be de-escalated. But because of the fact that they are not well trained, it becomes a bit of a problem. But most importantly, and stemming from my research I have done of various police departments all across the world, I found out that the most successful police departments are those in the Scandinavian countries. That is even prompting police officers to move without weapons. And one of the biggest things they had to do is to ensure accountability. In Ghana, it's 50-50, so to speak. When police officers do the wrong thing, there's always a tendency to cover up for 2 major reasons. 1, to ensure morale. 2, because you feel that when the information is out there, it will drag the police service into disrepute. So by ensuring accountability, you should also invariably be ensuring public trust and confidence. And I must say that is key element to dealing with the myriad of insecurity issues we face as a country.
So the setup is not as transparent as you would want it to be?
No, it's not as transparent, because usually what we do is an internal inquiry. Mostly some of these actions by some officers is pure criminality, and I would have expected that you make it as transparent as possible, or you let quite a comprehensive investigation to be conducted. But when it is done internally, it always leaves room for some manipulation and some expedience. Okay. So I think that it needs to be much more transparent than it is.
Okay, let's throw in more reactions to this. Fortunately, we're being joined by one man who was at the center of the police reform at the time he was in the service. The Honorable Peter Lonchini Tobo is joining as well, West MP. Now, of course, on the Interior Committee of Parliament. He understands a lot more of what happens with the Ghana Police Service. First of all, Honorable, welcome to the show. What's your take on the statement by the Speaker of Parliament, his concerns over the increasing harassment of journalists across the country? Is he exaggerating matters, or you agree with him?
Good afternoon, my brother Soga. How are you doing?
I am doing well.
Great. I listened to the speaker. I think that he has a very good point there for us to learn from. What the speaker is basically saying, in some jurisdictions, before the police will effect an arrest, they would have done some background investigation. You know, normally in policing, what is the proper procedure in the international best accepted standard is that police has a duty primarily to prevent crime. If you fail to prevent it, then you try to detect it. And when you detect it, you investigate it to find out when it happened, who is involved, where did it happen, what happened, and how it happened, so that it will help you to prevent the next one from coming. So the Speaker of Parliament was virtually saying, if you are able to prevent crime, all these kinds of arrests that we are seeing will not happen. If you fail to prevent and they happen, and we want to detect it, let's investigate. You don't arrest somebody and go and find out it is proven that, oh, you said what the person said was false. And you go to investigate to realize that probably what the person said was true. What was the essence of the arrest? I remember when I was in Sudan, the first thing the police officer would do is to seek interpretation of the law or seek guidance from a state attorney. And that is why I always propose that every district in this country should have a district attorney. And they should help the police, guide the police to take action. Because sometimes when we arrest so many people, at the end of the day, we go to the court, and it's like we don't have enough evidence to prove it. People begin to think that we are just abusing power in order to punish people, or probably we are being politically motivated. But the speaker is saying, if we can follow international best practice, let's take our time, investigate matters that are reported to us, get some prima facie evidence, and then we'll take a bold step, if you even like, invite, and confront the person with the evidence, and charge the person and take the person to court. If we go that way, I am quite convinced that many of the issues that we are seeing springing up and police are arresting people, the arrest levels will be minimized.
Okay, you are an ex-service person, so you understand all that's happening now. Where do you lay the blame? At the doorstep of the IGP, or perhaps it is generally the case that the standards within the Ghana Police Service is falling?
The police is a cohesive arm of government, and the government senior legal advisor is the Attorney General. So the Attorney General, who is also a member of the Police Council, works in consultation with the IGP to ensure that law and order is maintained in the country. So I will lay the blame at the doorsteps of the Attorney General. The police can effect an arrest now, and the Attorney General will call. This is a misdemeanor. Please advise the complainant to go to court and file a civil suit. Please release him, and the police will take the necessary step to release the person. You see, it is the Attorney General's poster. Police do not prosecute people. That is what many Ghanaians do not understand. When the police are parading you before a court of competent jurisdiction, it's not the job of the police. They are only representing the Attorney General in doing that. If the Attorney General has enough attorney in the system, you will never find a police officer in court prosecuting anybody. The job of the police officer is to prevent crime. The job of the police officer is to detect it. And the job of the police officer is to investigate crime. When it passes the stage of investigation and is going to the court, it has nothing to do with the police. It all has to do with Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution that clearly states that it is the job of the Attorney General. So Attorney General is the one who directs how laws are enforced. But the police are there to ensure that the cohesive arm of government works. If the Attorney General is up and doing and is really serious that these trivial matters will be reduced, he will have a chat with the police, and all these things will disappear.
Well, the reason why I'm actually asking this question is because earlier I brought in Adib Saani and then Richard Kumadoe, who are still with us, sharing their thoughts on what we could do to reform the Ghana Police Service. In fact, the IGP, as we indicated, made these statements. Maybe you could have, once again, look at it on our screens now. The IGP assuring and promising that the police service we have now is not the same police service as we used to have over the years, and calling them virtually born again. That's the word he ascribes to. In terms of the assurances that we're getting from the IGP and what's happening now, there seems to be some disconnect. Where's that fault coming from?
Actually, there is no disconnect. The IGP is virtually saying that he has a vision to ensure that the Constitution is respected, the laws of Ghana are respected. Many Ghanaians have always said that if the laws of Ghana are working, who do you know I am? Do you know who you are dealing with? All these phrases will disappear in the system. All of us are equal under the law. The law is the master, period. So the IG is saying, please, the police service you are seeing under me, Dr. George Akuku-Dampare, I'm trying to let it be reborn. It's a born-again police organization. And I want the support of the public so that collectively, I am not an angel. If I falter, please draw my attention to positive criticism. But let's not allow the old things to happen. The status quo no longer has a quo. Let's try as much as possible to bring policing to the doorstep of the ordinary people and let everybody be accountable in this country. That notwithstanding, I've always advised the police, if you enforce the law and create more chaos in society, then the purpose of the law is defeated. Law enforcement is supposed to promote to maintain law and order, to maintain order in society. But if the enforcement rather creates chaos, you have to sit back and look at, one, your modus operandi in terms of enforcing the law, and also the thinking of the public. You need to carry the public along, and that's what we call policing by consent. It doesn't matter how you feel about a particular law that is being breached. If enforcing it will not carry the public along, be very careful, because when the police and the public are disconnected, the police becomes very ineffective.
Obviously, gentlemen, this conversation will have to continue sometime later. But, well, let me just pick up one more thing before we wrap up. And first of all, from you, Richard, here we are. We need to make progress. There are calls as to how we could form maybe a mechanism between the Ghana Police Service and the media fraternity, so we don't have this persistent or what looks like a persistent attack or arrest of personnel. How do we appropriately deal with this? Do we form some mechanisms or perhaps put in place some laws that will check this?
Then we can't go for law. But I think engagement between the media houses and the Media Commission in general with the Ghana Police Service could lead us to a situation where there will be some level of education, some level of awareness, and our individual and collective responsibilities will be enhanced. In that way, we will be civil towards one another, and we will see ourselves as working together to develop this country, where the police are playing their law enforcement role, and the media houses or the journalists or those within the media environment are also doing their very well in order to promote the image of this country. And in so doing, there'll be shared responsibility and there'll be shared accountability, and we will not be crashing against one another. I think the issues here is that we are too emotional about things, and we are too in the hurry to pin one another down. And that is not helping us, irrespective of the fact that we have various roles to play. It is only one Ghana we have. And for me, that has always been my issue, that there should be more engagement between the police and the interested groups they need in this country.
And a quick one.
Adib, for you, how do we deal with this?
Okay, so I think the police should stop being reactive. They should stop being social media police and get out there and get the real criminals. But we need to focus more on proactive policing, and that can also happen with deeper collaboration, particularly between the police and the media. I remember some time ago, the police set up a complaints unit for the media. I don't know what has become of it, but if we encourage it and make it a reporting hub of some sort for media personnel who feel wronged by the police, I think that can help. And like I indicated earlier, accountability is also key in building trust and confidence in the police service.
For you, Honorable Tobu, what will be the solution to all of this?
Right there. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm asking about the solution. So where do we go from here?
The solution. The police service is evolving. There are so many changes in the world, and the police service is, of course, responding to the changes, changes in Ghana in particular. So let all of us have an open mind and have the police engage us, and let's passion out the way. How do we have policing effective enough and our rights also respected? So let's collectively promote our rights and responsibilities, and let all of us, including the police, be accountable to the law and to the people.
WOW West MP Peter Lonchine-Tobu joining us there. Also Richard Kumadoe, a security and fraud consultant. Adib Saani is also a security analyst, all sharing their thoughts on police reforms. We can now take you to Parliament. We understand that there's a lot of development there. Indeed, there's a bit of an update to the demand by some 4 members of Parliament on the New Patriotic Party side, demanding for a further probe into circumstances leading to the death of the late John Evans Tamils, the former president of Ghana. We can now take you to Parliament. My colleague Parker Wilson is there, has more updates as well on what's happening on the case of Sarah Adjoa Safo. Parker, if you can hear me, first of all, brief us on the latest with regard to the probe into the death of former President